Hey guys, welcome to the new video. In this video, we will be discussing about batch job processing within Mule 4. So let's quickly start with official MuleSoft documentation for batch job processing. So I will search here for batch job in Mule 4. I will open up this particular documentation, which is the official link referring the Mule runtime 4.3. So, where to use batch processing? When you are synchronizing data between the two different end system application, it could be NetSuite at the source level, and at the destination it could be Salesforce, or it can be an ETL sort of application in which we are taking the data from a flat file CSV to a end system as Hadoop, or when we are dealing with a large quantity of incoming data from an API to a legacy system. So these are some of the use cases. So what it does exactly, it provides a construct for asynchronously processing larger than memory datasets, data split into individual records. Batch job allows the description of reliable process that automatically splits up the source data and stores it into the persistent queues. So by default, it takes a batch size of 100 records per execution per thread, and as shown in this particular figure, event source could be anything which could be triggering this flow. In our use case, it could be a on file, or whenever a new file gets updated or modified, this process can be triggered, this flow can be triggered. After that, event processor, and we are having two different batch steps within the main batch job. And once it is being done from the processing on the first level, it will be sent to the batch step second. So each batch job contains processed data, acts upon a record to transform, route, enrich, and otherwise process data content within it. It offers a lot of flexibility, like how we can process it. And when its batch job executes, when the flow reaches the process record section of the batch job, when triggered, it creates a new batch job instance. Batch engine submits a task for each record block to the IO pool to process each record. Parallelism occurs automatically at the record block level, and whenever a batch job starts executing, Mule splits the incoming message into the records, stores them in the persistent queue, and queries schedule those records in the block of records to process. By default, 100 records, as I mentioned, in each batch step. However, depending upon the size of the payload, we can customize this. What if out of 1000 records, if anything gets errored out? So there is a way to handle it. We will be coming on detail about how to handle it in one of our use case as well. So what is the difference between batch job and batch job instance? So as I mentioned, instance is a running Mule specific instance of batch job only. Batch job is one of the scope which can be used for processing a batch of records. So it is having three parts: load and dispatch, process, and on complete. Okay, so load and dispatch, basically it splits the message using the data view, and it creates a new batch job instance. It creates a persistent queue and associate it with the new batch job instance. For each item generated by the splitter, Mule creates a record and stores in the persistent queue. So this activity is either it will be all will be done, or all will be reverted back, or nothing will be done. Mule presents the batch job instance with all queued up records to the first batch step for processing. So after this, the process stage will start. So during this stage, the runtime begins the processing of records in a batch in asynchronous manner. Each record moves through the processor in the first batch, and then it is sent back to the original queue, while it waits to be processed by the second batch step, and so on until every record has passed through every batch step. Only one queue exists. Records are picked out of it for each batch step, processed, and then sent back to it. Each record keeps track of what stages it has been processed through while it sits on the queue. One thing to note over here, batch job instance doesn't wait for all queued records to finish processing in one batch step before pushing any of them to the next batch step. Queues are persistent in nature, so even the system gets restarted, it will be no impact, no data will be lost. Okay, and the last one is the onComplete. OnComplete will be used to create a runtime report or summary of the record which it has processed, failed, success. All such detail will be captured under OnComplete stage. Okay. Within the batch step, we can also have a concept of batch aggregator, which allows bulk upsert in a group of or in a batch of messages rather than one by one. It upsets all, as it mentioned, it has taken a use case example. So Google contact in one chunk, like 100 records in one shot, some sort of that. Also, if you at the batch step level only you want to filter out the messages, there is a way to do that using the accept expressions. We will be covering that in our use case as well. Let me quickly touch base the error handling part of batch job processing. So whenever any exception occurs, such sort of console print is there, like how many are being there and how many errored out. So exceptions are for 10 and 9, something like that. Of course, you can change the logging log4j level to the debug so that you can check it on a more deeper level. So there are some functions available within the batch at the data weave level. So whether a particular record is successful or not, this will return a boolean value whether it is a failed record. And this one, failed exception for a step, it will take a step as a input parameter, and then it will retrieve either null or it will give exception object. This will give a complete Java object of all step exceptions. This is for the first exception and this is to get the last exception. Okay, we are pretty much done. So there is a one important thing, like the processing strategy for the error handling. It could be finish processing. Do not pull any more records from the queue, and set job instance to the failure state. The onComplete phase is invoked. Second, continue processing regardless of any failed records. Accept expression and policy attributes to instruct subsequent batch step how to handle the failed records. And the last one is the continue processing. So until unless a maximum number of failed records is being achieved, it will go on processing the incoming payload. So there is a field of max field records. If it is being marked as 0, it will stop the processing when a field record is found. If you want to continue it for all the processing of records, you can mark it as -1. And if you want to stop it at a particular number of failed records, you can put any value greater than 0, positive value. So that is pretty much of the different error handling part. So let's start with the sample use case. So this is my AnyPoint studio, and just to save the time and complete the two different functionalities of batch job processing in one video, I will start with the sample which I have already created. So this is the batch processing flow. It will be reading on a input file named as batch.csv, and it is being placed on src main resources input. I will put it in over here. After that, there is a logger transform message to convert the CSV record into Java object. After that, I have gone to the core and drag and drop this batch job onto the canvas and batch step from here. and you can see the batch aggregator that can be placed inside a batch step only, so you can drag and drop that as well. After that, let's configure it one by one. So ordered sequential, I will be sequentially processing all the records. Max field records as 0, so this suggests like I will be processing all the records irrespective of their failure. One second, guys. Yeah, and batch block size, which was 100, I have changed it to 500. And after that, inside the batch step, I have marked the accept expression in such a format like if my payload is having a policy ID which is divisible by 2, then only it will allowed within this batch step, otherwise it will error out. Okay, after that, if I go inside this level, batch step started, simple logger, then a write file activity which is going to write within the process folder with policy id.csv as the name, parent directory true, and write mode override. After that, the batch aggregator I have set it up. So aggregator size I have set as 200. So within a bulk of 200, it will be trying to write this particular file in aggregator folder along with the date timestamp. The same settings for create parent directories and the write mode. And finally, on complete, I will be writing the summary. So let me show you what I have written over here. So all the details like instance ID, how much time it took, loaded records, how many failed, how many processed successful records, and the other things. And this is pretty much of it, and let's try to run it. I will stop this flow and I will run it once again. So here you can see I have placed within the SRC test resources some couple of test files. So I will be using this batch CSV file. Let me show you the content of this CSV file. Policy ID is one of the column in which we are having interest for now. It is having only the numeric values in it, and the total count, if you check, it is around exactly 1000. Okay, let's close it quickly. Here you can see it is being deployed. What I will do, I will copy paste this guy and place it in the input folder. Okay, so let's start in this way. I will first show you how the process is being working from the logging perspective. So this one in which we have written like batch step started, you can look at this batch step started is showing. So this is being coming up exactly the same number of times it is appearing for the number of records, and this is being marked as 500. So it will be in a set of 500 plus 500 because we have 1000 records in place, right? So coming to the console once again, after it is being written, you can check. See, this is the instance ID 878 D78, this one. Process record 1000, field record 0, total record 1000, and finally this has been done because this is being printed as part of this logger on complete stage. So let's quickly refresh the SRC main resources now. So what we have done, like once it is being triggered from here, I have pushed this file to the output folder of it. So this is the output folder. Here you can see the same number of records, I guess. So exactly 1000 records are there. Okay, that is good. Now I will check this file how it is being written onto the process folder. So I will expand this. I will take a location of this particular folder. I will go inside this and do Control A, right click, 495. So it suggests there are 495 files with all the policy IDs ending with the even number in the last digit. Okay, I will quickly close this, and the next step is to check for this file creation under the batch aggregator. I will expand this batch aggregator, and there are 3 files being created, and all policy IDs are even numbers. What is the total number of count? 200. Perfect. How many are there in the second one? It's 200. 200 plus 200, 400. Okay. And the very last one, 95. I'm expecting. Yes, it is 95. Here you go. Plus 1 because of the header. That should be okay. So 495 in total, and process is matching with the same only. So we are pretty much good with the positive scenario of this batch processing. Let's go to the negative scenario, or the error handling part of it. It's pretty much the same, but there will be only very slight change in that. I will be reading this time a error CSV, so I have marked it as error star.csv. Within the right file, the same format, nothing changed. Okay, so let me check this thing. Give me a moment, guys. So this is one of the important thing, max failed records. So as we have seen the 3 different error handling scenarios in which possible values were 0, 0 for all success, we nothing have to do with the failed records. After that, -1, it will go till infinity, and after that it will give a count. And the last one, that is some positive value, it will look for this third scenario only. So it will check up to 100 number of maximum failed records, and after that it will stop the processing. Okay, so in order to further configure this, what I have used the same previous batch processing flow, and after that I have drag and drop this batch step inside the batch job here. Okay, and I have used the same concept, putting a logger, and change this to the only failures under this batch tab accept policy. After that I have put down a logger, just printing the payload. After that, batch aggregator I have drag and drop and put a logger and write to file activity. Logger is basically printing the payload, and write file activity is just writing onto a error CSV file under the error folder. Okay, and the last one is the same as on complete. This is the same stuff which we have copied from the previous batch processing flow. So what I will do now, I will first clean up the folders. Give me a moment. So I have deleted almost everything. Now I will run this guy. I will stop it. I will run it again. So I will be taking this error 3 CSV as one of the example, just to show you how many fields are there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So out of 9 records, I am having 5 such entries in which the policy ID is not numeric. It's having alphabet in it, so ideally it should error out. So keeping that thing in mind, 9 records, 5 are failed records. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I am going to copy this thing into the input folder. I will paste it here. So here you can see the exception is for 5, successful 4, total records 9. I will refresh this assertion main resources. I will go with error first. So here you can see 1 2 3 4 5 in record, and policy ID all are alphabets in it. So pretty much we are good on this. Process files, these are two because these are the two which are ending with positive the even numbers in the last digit. This one is the same as the copy which we have put in the input folder. Aggregator, if we want to check, it is having two records in it. These are the same which is available in processed as well. So this is pretty much of error handling part of it. Let me show you the content as well. So I have intentionally taken a smaller payload set, otherwise logs will get rolled out and difficult to track it down. So I will copy paste this onto the notepad, wrap it around. So here you can see batch processing flow initiator. This is the very first one that is coming from here. Okay, so this has been done. After that instance creation is being done. Then during the processing it came for this particular payload ID, and it is not able to divide it by 2. Okay, now you can see this printing error. So from where it is getting printed, it is printing it from this particular line. From here it is printing when it enters into the failure. So this is the printing. After that this is the first instance, TYUIOP, first one. This is the second one, and this is the third one, and this is the fourth one, and this one is the fifth one. So after that it is going to write the payload something over here, starting from here till here. This is the simple payload which it is going to write, and from where it is printing, this is printing from this particular step. After that write to file activity happened, and finally the on complete will print the summary of this entire transaction of the batch processing. So this is pretty much of how we can handle the batch processing errors. So if you want to skip the batch aggregator, you can have your own logic. You can have a for loop, you can send over a BMQ, you can send it over a RabbitMQ, you can use the email connector for sending out a notification. So it entirely depends upon your use case. So with this two particular use cases, I have demonstrated how we can use the different capabilities available within the batch processing of Mule 4. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, share a thumbs up on the video on my YouTube channel, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if not done already, and spread the knowledge across all the mules. Thank you. Thanks a lot.